1983 Bermondsey by-election campaign, described by GBNews as the dirtiest and most notorious by-election in British political history.
Peter Tatchell, the then Labour candidate, faced a vicious homophobic campaign that saw him bombarded with violent threats. While Tatchell failed to win the seat, he went on to describe the campaign as a loss for me, but a win for others. And he joins us now to tell us more. So, Peter, are we bringing back unhappy memories from 40 years ago today? Do you want to tell us some of, I don't know, the abuse you got, what happened in that campaign?
But it certainly was an extraordinary, exceptional election. As you said, commentators described it as the dirtiest, most violent, and certainly most homophobic election in Britain probably ever. It's astonishing to think that when I was out canvassing, knocking on doors to win support, I was violently assaulted over 100 times. There were more than 30 attacks upon my flat, mostly bricks and bottles through the windows, but also an arson attempt, and even a bullet posted to my letterbox in the middle of the night. It was a very, very scary time. And of course, I was trying to champion the interests of local people. I was particularly fighting against property developers who wanted to take over the Bermondsey riverside on the south bank of the Thames to build lots of big corporate office blocks and luxury flats for the rich and thereby force out local people. And it was really hard to do that campaign under that level of extreme violence, mostly from far-right extremists, but also some homophobes as well.
This was the biggest swing in by-election history, Peter. I'm sorry to remind you of that, but I just wondered: is that what it was solely down to, or were there other factors at play? Because the only reason I was thinking, I was reading up again about it last night, and the Labour MP who was retiring, Bob Mellish, I think, thought you were far too left-wing for his taste as the candidate. Was there other factors at play in that election other than the sort of homophobia that it's famous for?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people said that my opposition to property developers moving in and squeezing out local people, they said that was holding up progress. Some even said that my proposals to redevelop Bermondsey as an urban garden city was communist agenda. Absurd nonsense. I've got to say that, many people did not really get a chance to hear what I stood for because the media was just focused on my sexuality and my support for LGBT plus rights. They didn't really seem to care much about what I actually stood for and what I was trying to do.
But
it meant that a lot of people just had a very jaundiced view.
Peter, who was pushing that, though? Because me, looking back, Simon Hughes was the Lib Dem candidate there. And in the end, it turned out huge hypocrisy on his behalf, pushing this anti-homophobic agenda when he transpired later to have same-sex relationships, as I think he described it. So what do you think of him and how he ran his campaign against you?
Well, certainly in the Liberal Party, Simon Hughes was the Liberal Party alliance candidate. They ran a very dirty homophobic campaign, that's true, and Simon did, to his credit, many years later apologise, and I've accepted his apology, but of course they benefited from that homophobia. And Bob Mellish and John O'Grady, they ran a very homophobic campaign. They had their supporters sing a song which went like, Tatchell is an Aussie, Tatchell is a puff. Let's go down to Rockingham, which is where I lived, and throw him off the roof. That was the kind of stuff that was going on. People who had my posters in their windows, had their windows smashed. It was a very, very extreme time. Look at the policy I stood for. I argued for a national minimum wage to combat low pay. I said there should be a negotiated political settlement in the north of Ireland to end the war. I argued that there should be comprehensive laws to protect everyone against discrimination.
And of
Peter,
course, a lot of that, well, as you said, people didn't see and didn't get to know about. So
just very quickly, Peter, in 10 seconds, if this had been a general election, I'm presuming you would have won. You only lost because it was a by-election. Is that what you feel?
Probably, yeah, because it put the focus on me, and it made this the whole campaign like a national issue. But those 3 or 4 policies I just outlined, they were deemed extremist back then, but now, of course, they're the mainstream consensus, and even the Conservatives support them.